Welcome, everybody, to the Synapse Philosophy Group. I'm Dr. Haig, John, and I'm your host. And for our reading and discussion, that's the important part of Stephenson's book, the Chiropractic textbook. And R.W. Stevens, 1927. We're in the senior text, page 250, and we're on principle number 9. The amount of force created by intelligence. The amount of force created by intelligence is always 100%. Force is an immaterial thing. There is nothing to prevent intelligence from creating all it wants of it. But intelligence being perfect, therefore incapable of incorrect action, creates the requisite amount, no more, no less. The amount of force created by innate in the brain cell is the proper amount to perform a specific act, no more, no less. Hence, 100%. The amount created a moment later for the same tissue cell may be as much or the same quality, but would be exactly suitable for the occasion. This shows the law of adaptation. What do you make of that? Why is that important to what we are doing in chiropractic? Hey there, Steve. We're on page 250 in the Stephenson's textbook. What do you think, Barry? Saw you on mute.
Yeah, this is extremely important. This intelligence is 100% perfect. And if you could truly just tap into that force, if you're thinking of a human, we're all human here, and you're thinking about what can I do to make myself function better or feel better, if you want to use those words. The key here is the force. If you could tap in to that force, which is 100% intelligence, you're going to improve your life. You're going to improve your well-being. This is key, to tap into that force. Where is it coming from? Where is it?
What are you thinking, Steve? What would you like to share?
I'm just delighting in Barry's words.
Yeah.
If you live by the innate way, of course. I love it. It's just, thank you, Barry.
You're welcome. And just like every single second, let's go to 5-minute increments. Us 5 minutes are completely different than we were 5 minutes previous. And just like Stephenson is saying here, for the next amount created a moment later is specifically created for that moment right then and there too, which is also perfect. And this is the body just specifically at speed of thought adapting to what is needed in this human body.
Now, how do you relate this to a subluxation model where we talk about overstimulating the tissue or understimulating the tissue? If that tissue is matter, how can it be less or too much?
So what?
That's the first thing I think of is that question.
What's the context of your subluxation model?
Well, what I'm saying is, just like if we're an inhibited impulse, there is less impulse or communication to the tissue it's communicating to, or the nerve is overstimulated from the subluxation and bringing too much.
Gotcha. So even a step before that, this is creation, right? This is the force, the bringing from the spiritual to the material in that brain cell, in the organ called the brain. So that's prior to the subluxation, because that's right down in the vertebral column. And this is 100%. So if you're able to allow that to flow from that first segment down, atlas down, no matter what's happening to L5 or the liver or the left kidney, that tissue cell is going to function better if that 100% intelligent force is able to get to it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Now, but intelligence being perfect, therefore incapable of incorrect action. And I always think of this really is, the body is perfect in all time. It's the outside forces that cause what we call disease, dysfunction, right? Outside toxins, stress, all those type of things. But that force is always divinely perfect in the perfect way. We think about it at the atomic level. If it's not enough, then we actually have explosion. If it's too much, then the whole system explodes and we end up with Hiroshima. But there's a lot of power packed into very small things. Principle number 10, the
Hold on
function.
for a second. Haig,
Go ahead.
hold on. One of the concepts that I like and I've experienced is that the majority of my uh, too much force comes from my own inner reaction. I remember lifting something that I had a motorcycle that was falling, and I overreacted and I pulled a muscle. We've read that many of the subluxations are caused from within in a reactive way that is not appropriate to the challenge.
Okay.
I don't know how that fits in, but it's like the cause and the cure is internal.
Well, the body heals itself when it has the right tools and right ability to communicate properly healing to repair the damaged tissue.
Yes.
Something just hit me too here in the first sentence. There is nothing to prevent intelligence from creating all it wants of it. And whatever you're wanting, put that word in replace of nothing there, and just there's your let that flow. There's your goal. Tell your educated mind, your souls that are listening to you, this is what I want. I want my right arm to regain its function. I want that left sciatica to start to clear out. He's easily states here in principle 9, there is nothing to prevent intelligence from creating all at once.
Wow.
I say this in the office every day to every patient now. It created you, why can't it heal you?
Yeah. Well, what it is, it's creating harmony. There's balance. Principle number 10, the function of force. The function of force is to unite intelligence and matter. We would never know there is such a thing as intelligence since it is abstract, unless it is shown to us by matter, that is, expressed. Matter cannot exist without the attention of intelligence. Structures of matter cannot exist without the building forces of intelligence. Structures of matter cannot continue to exist without the maintenance by intelligence. This is accomplished by the application of force by intelligence. Thus, force is the connecting link or bond between intelligence and matter. That rock, there is a want for that rock to be held together to create a rock with those molecules. Go ahead, Barry.
All right, Steve, this is where the foreign comes in. The foreign is this force. The foreign is the connection here. That's a little heady right now. I'm going to jump back to that part of this principle, but let's talk about the matter that you were talking about, Haig, because to the listeners, I used to have problems with this because when I would hear the word intelligence, I would think of brain and intelligence. And I'm like, that matter is not living, it's not breathing, it's not, and I just had that mindset. It to help me with that, what it is, it's the laws of physics. It's the laws of thermodynamics. It's the laws at work. And that's where that intelligence is in that matter. Now, this uniting of the intelligence and matter of force, this is really key here. I got this recently. You have to take action. And taking action is creating the force. and whether it's also a physical force and adjustment into that body, but also a physical force mentally to take the act to step up and be the chiropractor there for the patient. It has to take action. And when that happens, you're always uniting intelligence and matter here. So we can help ourselves out here struggling on this planet if you just listen to these principles and apply them and put them at work.
You know, I say that all the time too. Should not be just kept to chiropractors. You know, that's why I invite everybody to come on to this podcast. Everybody should listen to it. And I think a lot of people that listen to it are non-chiropractors, which I think is really good. I haven't posted in a while. I've got to get some videos up, but you know, force takes some intelligence, which also takes a little time. So I'm getting there. All things take time, right? So, the character of universal forces principle number 11. The forces of universal intelligence are manifested as physical laws, are unswerving and adapted and have no solicitude, unswerving and unadapted and have no solicitude for structures of matter. Okay? I'm going to read this next part unless you guys want me to stop. Bodies actuated by physical forces will not go one iota out of their way to dodge anything in their paths. Things actuated by these forces may be injured or destroyed by their rigor. There is not the slightest variation in their amounts, qualities, or directions in order to protect a single thing. There are antipodal or adaptive forces. However, the student must not conclude from this that universal intelligence is maliciously destructive. It is but the working of the great cycle. The plan of universal intelligence the plan of universal intelligence that this to be so in order to maintain life. Universal intelligence, by putting localized portions of itself in matter, builds up structures in order that they may be something to tear down. That would happen eventually if no structure was ever torn down. It is clear that creation would cease and there would be no further life, for structures must be destroyed in order that living things continue to live.
Yeah.
A little thought will show us that every bit of food we eat or have eaten in organic matter, vegetable, animal, it matters not which, but both have had innates and have been deprived of their lives in order that we might live. Another thought, suppose all the people who have lived in all the thousands of years we're living now, is it not possible that the entire surface of the world would be covered with several layers deep with their bodies? Let us compare your watch to one of innate structures for an analogy. This watch is made of molecules and atoms, which are just as valuable as universal intelligence in the elemental state as they are in the structural state. The structure, however, was of value to the factory which made it, and is to you who possesses it. In the hands of both, it gets extreme care. Do you not trust it to the tender mercies of universal laws by leaving it outdoors in all kinds of weather, by putting it in water or letting it fall? You keep it in your pocket, suspended on a chain, or in its case. At every instant of this structural existence, you keep it in a safe place to see that it's repaired when it is needed. To be convinced of what universal laws will do to a tissue cell, a structure valued by innate, you should take your watch, a structure valued by you, and hold it over a hard floor or a stone, and let the law of gravity have it for a fraction of a second. Innate is always on the job, and it loves you. It loves every single molecule with absolute a love unending. I love it that he's talking about a pocket watch here, quite honestly, and not like an iWatch, right?
What's cool on the resemblance of the pocket watch is his conversation about the cycles of life and time. And in today's day and age, that pocket watch, why don't we replace that with our iPhones or our smartphones or our tablets, right? Hitting that ground. There's also, I just love the cycles of life here and the limitations of matter, and even the quartz that he mentioned, how it's built up in physical laws, but even it will be broken down and recycled back into the intelligence. Pretty powerful.
Well, and I also see this too as the server, is that don't forget you haven't been forsaken by your body, and people think like their body's against them, right? That's why I don't really like the term autoimmune, really. But the reality, he's saying your body's doing something amazing. Your innate loves you and every molecule in your body. You have not been forsaken by this God, universal intelligence, or your innate intelligence. It's always on the job. I put everything back to love. I'm feeling very romantic today.
Are these words? I know it's written by or Stephenson put it together, but are these words from BJ or DD, or do you not know?
Well, like while we were reading Dee Dee's work, a lot of the stuff is taken from Dee Dee.
What you
Um,
just read, what you just read on the universal forces.
this is, I think, is a lot from Stevenson here. What do you guys
It's
think?
it
I
should
mean,
be it,
but who wrote the Stephenson? Who came up with those words? Is that BJ and Stephenson quoted him,
I
or you
think
don't know?
I think that BJ Stevenson wrote this. BJ had, he looked at it and he said this was the closest thing to my writing, and he accepted it. You may
Well,
know a little more history than me.
what I like about it is that there's an embrace of the function of universal forces, and the opposite of organization, the universal forces of what is it, entropy, and the other one going towards order. There are these systems, but there's a certain embrace and an allowance, and that death and life are in relation to one another. Both, it's beautiful words that
Yeah,
have that are echoing ancient Upanishads, early Indian, Hindu, early Hindu. This is new words put to old concepts.
absolutely. And even Dr. Sid used to talk about this. Sigafus used to bring it up all the time, is that there are enough flowers on the tree that there's an abundance of them for the bees. And there's an abundance of bees for the birds to eat. And there's an abundance of this, so much so it's not waste of the flowers or the fruit that's not eaten that falls on the ground. It's part of the fertilizer that makes
Yeah.
the next generation grow stronger, right? None of
Mhm.
those things are out of balance. They're in synchronicity. And all of that is it's divine forces really, that's where we see this. I really see the omnipotence in things in those ways.
My question is, with this perfect balance and innumerable details, uncountable details of creation, and we come along thinking, I can heal you. And we know that's not true, that it comes from universal intelligence's uh, way, innate within the body. How do we make room for the intelligent adjustment in that, given this system of tremendous organization and disorganization, then we come along in 1895 and start improving it? I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about that.
Well, that's a separate question, really, about, what Dee Dee did. I'm going to touch on one other thing that, kind of what you said before, is that, it is divine force. And healing
Yes.
is the ability of all living creatures, plant or animal, but not of non-living things that have universal forces. They're not able to heal. But healing it happens with all creatures. All plants are able to heal a wound. And when we think about when we adjust people, and I was just listening to this today with Reggie Gold. We read Reggie's some from Reggie. You know, the chiropractic has nothing to do with healing, but releasing that impulse, allowing the body to work and function at its best. The side effect is more efficient function, therefore potential for more efficient healing.
I think there's something about the human being able to lose their educated or let their educated be in service as an expression of innate as a practitioner, that now I'm exerting something besides a physical force, that I am allowing myself to be inhabited by the greater intelligence, and that the adjustment is now an expression of God itself or of universal intelligence itself. That is not, because we know techniques are so getting subtler and subtler, and yet tremendous results. There's something about the human chiropractor who exerts a force even more subtle than the concussion of the recoil toggle.
Well, and that's where
and I think it's somehow dealing with the force.
Well, what I was going to say after that, really after Reggie Gold, talking about the chemistry of life. He was big with the letter N, the chemistry of life, function of the corporeal body. But when we start thinking of this system in the intellect, in logical terms, that's when we get lost.
Yeah.
That's why we have to have the enemy of the subluxation, like you mentioned on that post, Steve, or we have to fight something and we're constantly, with our intellect, it must be something wrong because intelligently I can't understand it, right?
Right. There's nothing
And
wrong.
when you're really around the masters of adjusting, they're not thinking of adjusting. They're not thinking of ASRA or whatever it is. They are 100% present. And this is what I've learned from my mentors. Once you start thinking, you're done. Let's back up. Now I'm in my head, you know, and we're coming from the logical realm, which is the small thing. I'd much rather be clearer and allow the adjustment to come through me and serve from above down and the inside out and back through. You realize we're receiving what we're giving. So I've always said, I want to give the best adjustment I can because I'm selfish. I also want a good one back, right? But and that's for me, that's been an important thing. I don't know about anybody else, but is when we're coming from that intellectual world, because we talked about it before with the people with techniques, and like me of really getting innate adjusting, putting into a manual ankle release now and all the things, and we have zero gravity adjustment for space travel, putting that into an intellectual way, it almost ruins things, right? Because it comes so spiritually through us and not from us.
You
The
know,
adjustment's
yeah.
divine.
I hung out with Ralph Gregory for a couple days, and I learned Nuka. And one of the things he had us do is get into certain positions so as to create a potential energy with triangles. And the force wasn't even created hardly by any muscle activity at all. It was pretty much like I'm putting myself into the machine of innate. And it itself transmits. Wow. It's kind of like walking into the right room with the right posture, with the right contact, with the right intention, and then it comes from divine, in my opinion.
Yeah. Matching the tone, matching the life, getting ourselves out of the way, the I am, and let it be.
And let's talk about resonance.
Most of the upper cervical, a lot of the upper cervical adjustments are based on resonance, right? If we talk about instrument type of adjusting, it's a vibration, but all adjusting's that way. Once we're in tune with it, tune the body, yeah, absolutely.
To bring this back in here, Haig, you also said something in reading it. And by the way, congratulations. That was quite a few paragraphs there that you read through.
There's some
Um,
mouthfuls.
the universal forces are antipodal to adaptive forces. So they're opposite of.
Yes.
The way that it was said, it was like the same. So, Steve and Hagen, we're talking about these techniques and everyone else. We're actually applying a universal force, Steve. So if you're all, your mind isn't there, you're all geeked up, you're worried about your overhead, this or that, you're not there, your technique, that universal force is going to be uglier than one that has a clear intent. And here we are, they are antipodal to adaptive forces. That's what we're trying to do, is put that force in to create the mental force to unite the spirit and intelligence. Boom, send that mental impulse.
Mhm.
And like Ed said, get out of the way, right? Get out of the way. Apply it, create that action, and intelligence and matter is going to connect. Get out of the way. Now let the other principles, time, coordination, all that stuff kick in.
And we have to be in the way of innate when we're making the contact, when we're dealing with the patient. And we need to be in contact with that in ourselves, in the way of that. So that we are now, I remember once saying at a Saturday Night Live that you can't give really an adjustment if you are not in a gratitude place, in a aligned place, that what you're giving is less than what you can and your potential when you're in that alignment yourself. But this stuff is not at all emphasized, unfortunately, in the colleges. If I had a college, it would be for chiropractic. It would have at least a semester of how do I resonate with that universal intelligence.
That's why we have the podcast. We're putting it out there.
That's why we have the podcast. I've asked multiple college presidents. We all know college presidents, and, I ask this question often. Why do we hold back mostly DD stuff in the spiritual writing of BJ Palmer? And because it's hard to teach. What's taught in the school is what logic can put into a book by Hardcourt Brace Jovanovich or whoever printed it, and able to spit it out, and you learn from that.
Yeah.
It's only material world, and you're not going to get this stuff in church either. This is really where we have to speak as chiropractic philosophers and decipher it and then feed it to, I was going to say younger chiropractors, but it's really as chiropractic as a whole, right?
Yeah, it is. Did they say it's hard to teach?
Well, you can't teach this. Yes, absolutely they have.
Wow. Well, I'll help. Reach out.
Well, the spiritual side of D.D. Palmer, how do you teach that? And then it's
Well, how
also
do
the fear.
you can't, I used to have patients. I said, don't do more than a minute. I just want you to take a minute and no more and just sit there, relax your body, and just watch your breath coming in and out. And I can't give them that experience any more than I can give them an adjustment. But however, if they put themselves in that intention of watching this thing going on, the very life breath, that maybe they will be instructed from within and adjusted from within on that level.
in the
of being
right
able.
time, and not a moment before and not a moment after, right?
Yeah.
I had a chiropractor. He's been practicing about 10 or 15 years. He just shadowed me for a week. And then I have a new associate that just started on Monday. Today was her second day. And one of the most important things I told them, once you start to intellectualize things, you're already done. You're wasting time, right? But you're also telling God, the creative stuff of the universe, this is what I'd rather do, right? But when you trust, done, hands off, back away. It's been 41 and a half seconds. Okay, we need to serve the next person because that person needs it. You're creating the system in the spirit realm. I need to help a lot of people. Today is the day of service. As Sigafus always said, I move the bone, God does the healing. And, I have that. I need to do it bigger on my wall, quite honestly. But I have that sign right up by my adjusting tables. And, a lot of people, they want to say, hey, thanks, Doc. You really helped me. I thank you. Your body did the healing. I just moved the bone, so you had the best potential to do it. I don't usually use that many words, quite honestly. But once we give people that insight, it takes them years. They might not ever get it. Oh, okay, right? But that's why we do it over and over and over again, because it's easier to say, "Oh yeah, I can correct your spine. Oh, I'm gonna do this adjustment and correct your sciatica." It's like I really don't. If
See?
I could
Yeah.
have, could I really get rid of sciatica? It might. BJ said in one of the books, oh, you lay a guy on his side, you adjust the L5 vertebra, and it goes away the first time. Next one comes in, you adjust them 3 or 4 times, and yeah, then it starts to slowly go away. Third one comes in, you adjust them the same way, and it never goes away, right? There's no magic fix in any of this. There's no potion. There's no magic formula. It only works. Everyone's an ASRA Atlas. It doesn't work that way, right? So we're so divinely perfect that if I put my imperfection of this human corporeal being to do the adjusting, and then my little educated intelligence that's only learned other things from other people, what am I doing? I'm truly doing a disservice, quite honestly. I think we're doing the opposite of adjusting. That's my 11 cents.
I'll give a little story from the trenches as well. It'll put together our philosophy and what's happening here. So, had a new one come in on Saturday, and went through my program. I do palmar knee chest, upper cervical, and adjusted her, put her on the table, later have her lay down on the table. I'm cutting it real quick here. I did the exam and history and all that stuff
Gotcha.
too. Adjusted her, and then put her on the table and had her set her adjustment for 20 minutes. Post-scanned her, was at the front desk and getting her checked out. And there were 3 chiropractors waiting to get checked as well. They come in after their work shift on Saturday to get checked. All 3 separately. They all, they weren't together as a team. And all of a sudden, she's sitting there checking out, and she goes, "My left shoulder stopped clicking. My left shoulder stopped clicking." And I'm just busy and swamped. And I'm sitting there thinking, wait a minute, in your history, you talked about headaches and right neck pain and right shoulder pain. But she's literally yelling it. And the 2 chiropractors that are coming in that are starting to get knee chest work, I'm like sitting there almost telling her, like, say it louder, but I didn't. And she's like, oh my God, I've had it for 20 or 30 years. And all of a sudden she goes, wait a minute, you adjusted my neck, and then I went and laid down, and oh my God, my shoulder stopped clicking. Guys, I walked out of there with a smile on my face. She paid. I said, I'll see you next Saturday. And then I told the other doc, I'm like, Dr. So-and-so, come over here. Let's get you scanned. You never know.
That's great.
And
We will never know. And
the vertebral subluxation, her scan cleared, and Innate did what it needed to do. I had no idea about her left shoulder clicking at all for 20 or 30 years. She didn't even verbalize it in her history.
Yeah, that's amazing. And she didn't even, you know what? It became so commonplace for her. That was her normal. And then all of a sudden, life comes back, and divinely, those docs may have needed to hear that, right? To encourage them. Spirit put her in all the right things in the right moment, in the right time. You needed to hear it yourself. We all do sometimes, right?
Absolutely. Get
And I
checked.
remember you talking about your mom, Haig,
Yeah.
adjusted your mom's ache. That didn't go away, but other things happened. There's such a uncountable, again, I keep saying that word, number of things going on with innate that it's just a mind blower. We can't grasp any of it with our intellect. Maybe,
When I,
yeah.
even in my talk, that's one of the things I try and remember to talk about, quite honestly, is that I can't direct innate. It's not, I'm not really the colonel of your innate. I can't tell your army to go and heal your liver if you have, you
You
know,
know,
a liver
all
problem.
these pages of green books talking about the infinite intelligence is just why I am a chiropractor. Because it affirms, like you were talking, Barry, and you, Haig, about this thing that is, we are living in this miraculous now with this innate intelligence functioning us exactly as it should be. And somehow the resonance of our green book thinking, of our heart mind, not just the mind, the heart mind, this acceptance of this as a chiropractor is indescribably, words can't even.
So Steve, let's do reverse
Captain.
engineering on this. Where's that educated mind at? Yeah, on your body, where's that educated mind at?
I
Your
don't.
your brain
It's
cell or stomach
some
cell?
sort
Where's
of
your
concepts. I don't know. Some
yep,
concepts. I don't even know where they are. I don't
yep.
even know whether they're on it. Are they anatomically located?
Yes,
Thoughts?
educated mind is anatomically located in the brain. Stevenson says that, Palmer says that. So our mind is in, right? It's in our brain. That's matter. Inside this
Okay.
body, which is matter, right? We're limited. So we'll never be able to get or understand the force or intelligence because we are limited. Here, we're limited. The only time we're going to be unlimited is when we go into the immaterial,
Yeah.
right? And just accept that, be with that, and be an assistant to it, right? To unlock that through people.
The educated needs to be the servant of the innate intelligence.
Yes.
Well, and that's mostly what BJ wrote about, quite honestly, is getting out of the way, getting educated out of the way, and paying attention to innate and acting accordingly.
I don't like the word getting out of the way anymore because it's like denying a function. We can allow our educated to get in the way of innate. Let innate express through the educated. That's how come Beethoven wrote the Fifth, and David made that. Michelangelo created. This is how educated got in the way of innate. We're here to get in the way, not out of the way as if it's a bad thing. It's
Okay.
there to express the divinity of innate. And I'm using the word divine because I don't care if it's chiropractically not. Don't use that word, but I'm using it.
Dee Dee says it. It's in the green book. So absolutely,
Okay, well there you have it. In the way.
we're getting in the way.
That's what yoga is. Yoga is the union of the educated with the innate. That's a type of yoga. I think it's Nani yoga. But anyway, uh, this points us to being in an enlightened kind of awake state,
Well,
as was BD and BJ.
well, what is the purpose then of chiropractic? That's the
To
big part.
unite, to unite with the innate,
It's already united.
to know it.
I think it's the educated that thinks it's not, right? I
Right.
think that's why Stephenson's putting this here is really
Correct.
like, look how powerful we are. You're not different, right? We're all this powerful and really teaching our people these things. I think it's extremely important. I mean, he goes through the 33 principles multiple times in this book. We do the senior test because hopefully we're a little senior in this
You
business.
know, one of the concepts that Dr. Whitehorn and BJ taught, we used to practice our toggle. And the chiropractor, we used to go relax, relax, hit it. and then we would do the toggle. But we all tell our patients, and BJ talked about how important it is for our patients to be relaxed, so that they can receive. When they come into our office for like 5 minutes in their 24-hour day, they're seeing a taste of natural life. They're being reminded, relax now. Forget about, just relax, just lay on this table. And we wait until the tissue, we can tell when it's ready. It's all about relaxing, because when I relax, and for me lately, I've been experiencing just standing long enough to drop wherever I feel my tension. And then I'm in the right realm to receive or to give an adjustment. When I'm no longer, what happens when you're in a resistive state? It blocks the normal transmission.
Well, when you're tense, right? Just like a tightened up towel, there's less light that comes through.
There was an upper cervical guy in Atlanta. He used to come in with another person, and after that toggle, he made sure you relaxed. I think at the clinic, BJ Palmer clinic, you had to be laying there for an hour after the adjustment. And before too.
Oh, you were with BJ Palmer, you were there for a month. You were there for a month. Got one adjustment. You were at the BJ Palmer clinic for at least a month. That's what all of volume 20 is really about. They
I'm
rested.
talking about, but I'm talking about relaxing. And I'm going back to when we talk to patients about contacting that thing. Every patient, every human being has a memory of that state of perfect tone, whether it's in the womb or shortly after birth. We all have a memory of a certain state of perfection, which is our home. And so that what we're talking about isn't foreign. It's not foreign at all. It's a remembering. It's a again.
Wisdom.
What?
It's wisdom.
And it's in every one of our patients.
Never leaves us, never forsakes us. Gentlemen, and all the other people listening that are going to listen to this later on, we had a good night tonight.
And
I
thanks
like
for
that.
reminding me to be with myself.
At peace. I love it. Next week, I meant to pick this up tonight, everybody, is the x-ray. I had two videos I dropped off to get off of High 8 video. One of them was Dr. Clarence Jensen, who was at Clearview, taught by BJ Palmer.
Yeah.
Him teaching me BJ Palmer's x-ray analysis. And I've got all the sheets, all the diagrams he drew. I just ordered frames for them all, I'm putting them on the wall. And I have a Pasquale Sarasoli speaking at DE in 2003. And
Wow.
I remember Dick Santo was on stage, Sigafus was on stage, Dee Umber was up there. It was all the guys.
I
And
want to see it.
amazing. I can't wait. I was meant to pick it up today from the guy. And
I
Barry,
want to see
thanks
it.
for the inspiration to do it and get it done.
You're welcome.
One of the tapes is 4 hours long, the guy said. I'm like, oh, I can't wait for those 4 hours.
Let me say to all three of you, I love and I appreciate you.
I love you and I appreciate you.
Love and appreciate you as well.
Good night, everybody. God
Good
bless
night.
you. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Bye.